I never believed in love at first sight, not really. I thought it was something writers invented to sell romance novels, something people told themselves to justify impulsive decisions. But that was before I met Adrian. My name is Marcus, and I'm going to tell you a story that changed everything I thought I knew about myself, about love, and about what it means to truly see someone. It started on an ordinary Tuesday in September, the kind of day that feels like it should be forgotten the moment it ends. I was 26, working as a graphic designer at a mid-sized advertising agency in Seattle. My life had fallen into a comfortable rhythm: wake up, coffee, work, gym, Netflix, sleep, repeat. I'd convinced myself I was content. Content is just another word for numb, but I didn't know that yet. The morning started like any other. I was running late, naturally, clutching my messenger bag and a lukewarm latte as I rushed toward the office building. The elevator doors were closing, and I did that awkward half-run thing people do when they're trying to catch an elevator but don't want to look desperate. "Hold the door," I called out. A hand shot out between the closing doors, triggering the sensor. They slid back open, and that's when I saw him for the first time. Adrian. He was tall, maybe 6'1" to my 5'10", with dark hair that fell slightly over his forehead in that effortlessly messy way that probably took him 20 minutes to achieve. But it was his eyes that caught me first, green with flecks of gold that seemed to catch the fluorescent elevator lighting. He wore a charcoal gray suit that fit him perfectly, suggesting either money or excellent taste, possibly both. "Thanks," I mumbled, stepping into the elevator and immediately focusing on my phone, the universal signal for "please don't talk to me." "No problem," he said, and his voice was warm, with a slight rasp that made me think of whiskey and late nights. I pressed the button for the 8th floor. He didn't press anything. We were going to the same floor. The silence stretched between us, filled only by the mechanical hum of the elevator. I could feel him looking at me, not staring, just aware. I kept my eyes on my phone screen, pretending to read an email I'd already read 3 times. "First day jitters?" he asked. I looked up, confused. "What?" He smiled, and I felt something shift in my chest. "You're gripping that coffee cup like it's the only thing keeping you grounded, and you've checked your phone 4 times in 30 seconds. Classic first day behavior." "It's not my first day," I said, more defensively than I intended. "I've worked here for 3 years. "Ah," his smile widened. "Then maybe you just don't like elevators." "Maybe I just don't like small talk with strangers," I shot back. Instead of being offended, he laughed. A real laugh, not one of those polite chuckles people use to fill awkward silences. "Fair enough. I'm Adrian, by the way. I'm the stranger you don't want to make small talk with." Despite myself, I felt my lips twitch into an almost smile. "Marcus." "Nice to meet you, Marcus." The elevator dinged, announcing our arrival at the 8th floor. The doors opened and I stepped out quickly, relieved to escape the strange tension that had built in that small space. But as I walked toward my department, I realized Adrian was walking in the same direction. Then he turned into my department. My stomach did a weird flip. He was going to work here, in my department. I watched as he headed straight to our creative director's office. Through the glass walls, I could see handshakes, smiles, the whole welcoming routine. My coworker Jennifer appeared at my desk, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Have you seen the new senior art director?" she whispered urgently. "He's gorgeous." "I rode up in the elevator with him," I said absently, still watching the interaction in the office. Jennifer grabbed my arm. "Oh my God, did you talk to him? What's he like?" I paused, trying to find the right word. "Persistent." She laughed. "Well, he's going to be your new partner on the Morrison account. Linda just told me you two are going to be working pretty closely together." I felt my heart sink and soar simultaneously. Working with Adrian meant spending hours together, collaborating, sharing creative space. It meant getting to know him whether I wanted to or not. And the problem was, I was starting to realize I wanted to, very much. The first week working with Adrian was torture. Not because he was difficult, quite the opposite. He was talented, insightful, and had this way of looking at my designs that made me feel truly seen. He understood what I was trying to convey before I even fully articulated it. Our creative styles complemented each other perfectly. Where I was minimalist and clean, he brought warmth and texture. Together, we created something neither of us could have achieved alone. But that was the problem. Every time our hands accidentally touched while reaching for the same design mock-up, I felt electricity. Every time he leaned over my shoulder to look at my computer screen, I became hyper-aware of his proximity, the smell of his cologne, something woody and expensive, the warmth radiating from his body. Every time he praised my work, I felt a flush of pleasure that had nothing to do with professional validation. I was attracted to him intensely, and I had no idea if he was even gay. I'd been out since college, but I'd never been the kind of person who led with my sexuality. I didn't hide it, but I didn't advertise it either. In the office, I kept my personal life personal. I dated, sure, but nothing serious, nothing that made me want to talk about it at work. But Adrian made me want to know everything. Where he came from, what he liked, what made him laugh, what kept him up at night. I found myself listening for his voice in meetings, watching for him in the break room, timing my lunches to coincide with his. It was pathetic, really. I was acting like a teenager with a crush. 2 weeks after Adrian started, we were working late on the Morrison pitch. The office was mostly empty, just the cleaning crew and a few other workaholics scattered throughout the building. We'd ordered Thai food and spread out in one of the conference rooms, designs and notes covering every surface. "This isn't working," Adrian said, staring at the mood board we'd created. He ran his hand through his hair, leaving it even more disheveled than usual. "It's good, but it's not great, it doesn't sing." I knew he was right. We'd been playing it safe, creating something that would please the client but wouldn't challenge them. It was fine, acceptable, forgettable. "What if I started, then stopped, second-guessing myself. "What?" Adrian turned to me, giving me his full attention in a way that still made my breath catch. "Come on, Marcus, I've seen your portfolio. I know you have better ideas than what we're showing here." "How do you know my portfolio?" I asked, surprised. He had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. "I may have looked you up after I found out we'd be working together. Your personal work is incredible. That series you did on urban isolation, it's beautiful and heartbreaking." I felt heat rise to my face. Those pieces were intensely personal, created during a particularly lonely period after a bad breakup. The fact that Adrian had sought them out, had looked at them, had understood them, it meant more than I wanted to admit. "Thanks," I managed, "that means a lot." "So what's your idea?" he pressed gently. I took a breath. What if instead of showing the product as aspirational, something people want to have, we show it as essential? Something people need to feel whole, we strip away all the glossy perfection and show real people, real moments, real emotion. Adrian's eyes lit up. Yes, that's it, raw, honest, human." He grabbed a marker and started sketching on the whiteboard. "We could do a series of vignettes, different people, different situations, but all connected by this thread of authentic connection." "And the product isn't the focus," I added, getting excited now. "It's just there, part of their lives, enabling these moments of connection." "Exactly," Adrian spun around, his face animated with enthusiasm. "Marcus, this is brilliant." We worked for another 3 hours, the ideas flowing effortlessly between us. It was the kind of creative synergy I'd always heard about but never experienced. We built on each other's concepts, challenged each other, pushed each other to be better. By midnight, we had something truly special. "We should celebrate," Adrian said, looking at the final mock-ups with satisfaction. "There's a bar around the corner that's probably still open." I hesitated. Going to a bar with Adrian felt dangerously close to crossing the line from professional to personal. But I also really wanted to go. "Sure," I heard myself say, "let me just grab my jacket." The bar was one of those dimly lit places with exposed brick and craft cocktails with names like The Last Word and Paper Plane. We found a booth in the back and ordered drinks, an old-fashioned for me, a Manhattan for him. "So," Adrian said once our drinks arrived, "tell me about you, the real you, not the professional designer version." "What do you want to know?" "Everything," he said it simply, but there was an intensity in his gaze that made my heart race. "You're talented, obviously, but you're also guarded, like you're afraid to show people who you really are." I took a sip of my drink, buying time. The whiskey burned going down, but it gave me courage. Maybe I've learned that showing people who you really are is a good way to get hurt. "Fair enough," he studied me thoughtfully, "but doesn't holding back also hurt in a different way?" Something about the darkness of the bar, the late hour, the exhaustion from working so intensely, it all lowered my defenses. "You want to know the truth? I've spent the last 3 years playing it safe. Safe job, safe routine, safe emotional distance from everyone. After my ex, I stopped, surprised I was even bringing this up. After your ex what? Adrian's voice was gentle, encouraging. I looked down at my drink, watching the ice melt, feeling the weight of memories I'd tried so hard to bury. His name was David. We were together for 2 years, and for the first year I thought I'd found everything I was looking for. Someone who got me, who loved my passion, who said my intensity was what made me special. I took another sip, needing the liquid courage. But slowly things changed. The things he used to love about me became problems. When I'd get excited about a project, he'd tell me to calm down. When I wanted to talk about my feelings, he'd say I was being dramatic. When I reached for him, needing connection, he'd pull away and say I was suffocating him. My voice cracked slightly. The worst part wasn't even the words, it was the way he'd look at me, like I was this exhausting burden he had to carry, like loving me was work and he was tired of clocking in. Adrian's hand tightened on his glass, but he didn't interrupt. One night we had this massive fight. I can't even remember what started it, but it ended with him yelling at me in our apartment, telling me that I was too much, too emotional, too needy, too intense, that he felt like he was drowning in my feelings and he couldn't breathe. I closed my eyes, remembering. He said, "Why can't you just be normal? Why does everything have to be so deep with you? Why can't you just be easy?" A tear slipped down my cheek before I could stop it. And the thing is, Adrian, I believed him. I looked at myself and thought, he's right, I am too much, I am exhausting, there's something fundamentally wrong with the way I love. Marcus, Adrian started, but I needed to finish. So I learned to be less. I learned to swallow my feelings, to moderate my enthusiasm, to need less, to ask for less, to be less. I became this muted version of myself. And you know what the really messed up part is? Even after I made myself smaller, even after I tried so hard to be easy, he still left. He met someone else, someone uncomplicated, he said, and he left me there hollow and small, wondering what the point of disappearing had even been. I finally looked up at Adrian, and the expression on his face made my breath catch. It wasn't pity, it was anger, fierce, protective anger. After that, I just stopped trying. I stopped letting people in. I stopped creating art that meant something, because art requires you to feel things deeply. I took the safe job doing safe work, living this safe half-life where nobody could tell me I was too much because I wasn't giving them enough to judge. I laughed bitterly. Turns out you can make yourself so small that you almost disappear entirely. And the scariest part, after a while you forget what it felt like to take up space. The silence stretched between us. I immediately regretted saying anything. This was too much, too fast. I was doing it again, being too intense, oversharing, scaring someone away. "I'm sorry," I said quickly, wiping at my eyes. "That was way too heavy for a first real conversation. This is exactly what I mean. I don't know how to be normal about things." "Marcus," Adrian's voice made me look up. His eyes were filled with something that looked like pain. "I'm sorry someone made you feel like you were too much, but from where I'm sitting, you're not enough of anything. You're holding yourself back. Maybe that's safer." "Safer for who?" He leaned forward. "Not for you. I can see it in your work, all that passion and emotion you won't let yourself feel in real life comes out in your designs. It's like you're screaming through your art because you won't let yourself speak out loud." I felt exposed, seen in a way that was terrifying and exhilarating. "You don't even know me." "Then tell me, help me know you." His hand moved across the table, palm up, an invitation. "What do you want, Marcus? Not what you think you should want. What do you actually want?" The question hung in the air between us. I looked at his hand, at his face, at the genuine openness in his expression, and something in me cracked. "I want to stop being afraid," I whispered. "I want to feel things without apologizing for them. I want to create art that matters, not just designs that sell products. I paused, took a breath. "I want to feel that electric thing you talked about. I want to feel alive again." "And do you," his eyes searched mine, "feel alive?" "Right now, yes." The admission cost me something. "With you, yes." Adrian's breath caught. He took my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. "Can I tell you something? And I need you to really hear me." I nodded, not trusting my voice. When Cameron cheated on me, it wasn't just the betrayal that broke me. It was the realization that I'd spent 3 years loving someone who never really saw me. We were comfortable, compatible on paper, but there was no depth, no real intimacy. I could have been anyone. His voice roughened with emotion. I promised myself that if I ever felt something real again, I wouldn't run from it, even if it scared me, even if it was risky. "Adrian, I feel something real with you, Marcus." His grip on my hand tightened. "It's been 2 weeks and I feel more connected to you than I did to him after 3 years. The way your mind works, the way you see the world, the way you light up when you're excited about an idea, it's intoxicating. You're intoxicating." My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. We worked together. I know. This could get messy. I know that too. He brought my hand to his lips, pressed a kiss to my knuckles that sent electricity through my entire body. But I'm tired of playing it safe. I'm tired of settling for comfortable when I could have extraordinary. And Marcus, you're extraordinary even when you're trying to hide it. Tears pricked my eyes. I couldn't remember the last time someone had seen me like this, had made me feel like I was worth the risk. I'm scared, I admitted, my voice breaking slightly. I'm scared that I'll be too much again, that you'll realize I'm not worth the effort, that this feeling will fade and we'll be left with nothing but awkwardness and regret. Then let me be scared with you. Adrian moved from his side of the booth to mine, close enough that I could feel his warmth. Let's be terrified together. Because Marcus, the only thing that scares me more than taking this risk is walking away from it, is spending the rest of my life wondering what if. I turned to face him fully and the vulnerability in his eyes matched my own. We were both damaged, both scared, both hopping for something we weren't sure we deserved. I feel it too, I said, the words tumbling out. God, Adrian, I feel it so much it physically hurts. I've been trying not to, trying to be professional, trying to protect myself. But I can't stop thinking about you. I look for you in every room. I find excuses to work late hoping you'll be there. You make me want to be brave again. Then be brave with me. His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone. Let's stop hiding. Let's see what this could be. What if it doesn't work? What if it does? He smiled, soft and hopeful. What if this is the thing we've both been looking for? What if we're exactly what the other person needs? I looked at him, really looked at him. At the hope and fear warring in his expression, at the way he was putting himself out there despite his own hurt, at the chance he was offering both of us. Okay, I whispered, let's do this, let's be brave. Yeah. His face lit up like I'd given him the world. Yeah, but Adrian, I need you to promise me something. Anything. Don't make me small. If I'm too much, if I'm too intense, tell me, but don't ask me to be less than I am. I can't do that again. His eyes blazed with emotion. Marcus, I don't want less of you. I want more. I want all of it, the passion, the intensity, the depth. I want the version of you that's too afraid to exist in the daylight. I want to know what makes you angry and what makes you cry and what makes you come alive. He leaned his forehead against mine. I want everything you've been too scared to show anyone. A tear slipped down my cheek, but I was smiling. That's a lot. I can handle it. He kissed the tear away. Can you handle me? Because I'm not easy either. I work too much, I'm stubborn, I have control issues, and I fall hard and fast when I care about someone. I think I'm starting to figure that out. He laughed, the sound warm and rich. So we're doing this, we're really doing this. We're really doing this? I took a shaky breath. I don't know how it's going to work or where it's going to go, but I want to try. With you, I want to try being brave. Adrian pulled me into a hug, tight and fierce, like he was afraid I might disappear. I held on just as tightly, feeling his heartbeat against my chest, feeling the solid reality of him. Thank you, he whispered into my hair. Thank you for taking a chance on this, on us. Thank you for seeing me, I whispered back, for really seeing me. We stayed like that for a long moment, two broken people choosing to be brave together, choosing to hope for something better. When we finally pulled apart, Adrian's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Come home with me, he said softly. I'm not ready for this night to end, I just want to be with you. I looked at our hands, still intertwined, at the vulnerability on his face, at the possibility stretching out before us. Okay, I said, take me home. Dating Adrian was like learning to breathe again after holding my breath for years. We kept things quiet at work, maintaining our professional relationship while exploring the personal one in private. Those first few weeks were a revelation. We'd meet after work and walk through the city, talking about everything and nothing. He introduced me to his favorite bookstore, a cramped little place in Capitol Hill where the owner knew him by name. I showed him my favorite spot along the waterfront where you could watch the ferries come and go and feel simultaneously connected to and removed from the city. We talked about our families, his large and Catholic and still learning to accept him, mine smaller and more immediately supportive. We talked about our dreams, the kind you don't usually share with anyone because they feel too vulnerable, too exposing. He wanted to eventually start his own design firm, something small and focused on social impact projects. I admitted I'd always wanted to do more fine art, but was afraid it wouldn't be practical enough. Practical is overrated, Adrian said. We were lying on a blanket in Gasworks Park, watching the sun set over the water. Life is too short to spend it doing things that don't make your soul sing. Does design make your soul sing? I asked. He turned his head to look at me. Yes, but you know what else does? This, being here with you, feeling like I can be completely myself. It was the kind of thing that should have sounded cheesy, but from Adrian, it felt like the truest thing anyone had ever said to me. Our first kiss happened 3 weeks after that night at the bar. We'd gone to see a late movie, some indie drama that we both claimed to like more than we actually did. Walking back to my apartment, our hands brushed together once, twice, 3 times, until finally he caught my hand in his and held on. We stopped under a streetlight halfway between the theater and my place. The city hummed around us, but it felt like we were in our own private bubble. I really want to kiss you right now, Adrian said, his voice low and rough. What's stopping you? I asked, my heart hammering. I wanted to make sure you wanted it too. Instead of answering with words, I closed the distance between us and pressed my lips to his. The kiss started gentle, questioning, but quickly deepened. His hand came up to cup the back of my head, fingers threading through my hair. I gripped his jacket, pulling him closer. He tasted like the chocolate we'd snuck into the theater, sweet and rich. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. That was, he started. Better than I expected, I finished with a smile, echoing the phrase that would become something of a private joke between us. He laughed. So much better. We stood there for a long moment, neither wanting to break the spell. Finally, Adrian pulled back enough to look at me properly. Come home with me, he said. It wasn't a demand, just an invitation, an opening to something more. Okay, I whispered. Adrian's apartment was in Fremont, a 1-bedroom with hardwood floors and large windows that probably had a great view during the day. But I barely noticed the decor because as soon as the door closed behind us, we were kissing again, this time with more urgency, more heat. We made it to his bedroom, leaving a trail of discarded clothing behind us, and when we finally came together, it was nothing like I expected. I'd been with other men before, but this was different. This wasn't just physical, though the physical was incredible. This felt like connection on a cellular level, like our bodies recognized each other, welcomed each other home. Afterward, we lay tangled together, my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeats slowly return to normal. Marcus, he said softly, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my shoulder, I need you to know something. I'm not good at casual. I don't do casual. When I care about someone, I care all in. I propped myself up to look at him. Is that a warning or a promise? Both maybe, he smiled, but there was vulnerability in his eyes. I know we haven't been doing this long, but I can already feel myself falling, and I'm scared as hell because the last time I fell, I crashed pretty hard. I kissed him softly. I'm scared too, but Adrian, I'm also falling, have been since that first day in the elevator, if I'm honest. Really, he looked pleased, even when you were being all grumpy and antisocial. Especially then, you saw through my defenses immediately. It was terrifying. He pulled me closer. I like that I terrified you. You still do, I admitted, but in the best possible way. We fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, and I slept better than I had in years. The next few months were the happiest of my life. We fell into an easy rhythm, splitting time between his apartment and mine, cooking dinner together, sharing quiet mornings over coffee, navigating the beautiful mundanity of building a life with someone. At work, we maintained professionalism, but everyone could tell something had shifted between us. Our creative partnership became even stronger, fueled by the intimacy we shared outside the office. The Morrison pitch was a huge success, and we were given more high-profile accounts to work on together. Jennifer cornered me one day in the break room. So, you and Adrian, she said without preamble. I tried to play it cool. What about us? She gave me a look. Marcus, come on, you two are not as subtle as you think you are. The way you look at each other, the way you finish each other's sentences, everyone knows. My stomach clenched. Is that going to be a problem? Are you kidding? The whole department is invested in your love story. We have a betting pool on when you'll make it official. She grinned at my horrified expression. I'm just giving you a heads up. Also, I bet on 3 months, so if you could make it Facebook official soon, I'd appreciate it. Despite my embarrassment, I found myself smiling. I'll see what I can do. That night, I told Adrian about the conversation. We were at his place, cooking pasta together, or rather, he was cooking while I sat on the counter and provided moral support in the form of terrible jokes. "So we're the office romance," he said, stirring the sauce. "How do you feel about that?" "I thought I'd hate it," I admitted. "But honestly, I don't care. I'm too happy to care what people think." Adrian set down the spoon and moved to stand between my legs, his hands on my thighs. "Marcus Rivera, are you saying you're happy?" "Deliriously," I said, wrapping my arms around his neck. "Disgustingly so." I wake up smiling. I catch myself daydreaming during meetings. I'm basically a rom-com protagonist and it's your fault. "I'll take the blame." He kissed me slowly, thoroughly. Until I forgot about dinner entirely. The pasta ended up slightly overcooked, but neither of us minded. Meeting each other's families was the next big step. Adrian's family lived in Portland, a 2-hour drive south. He warned me that his mother was a lot and that his 3 younger sisters would interrogate me mercilessly. He wasn't wrong. The moment we walked into his childhood home, I was swept into a whirlwind of embraces, questions, and the smell of something delicious baking. His mother, Teresa, was a tiny woman with steel gray hair and eyes exactly like Adrian's. She hugged me like she'd known me for years. "So you're the one who's made my Adrian smile again," she said, studying my face with an intensity that was both unnerving and endearing. "Good, he's been sad for too long." "Mama," Adrian protested, embarrassed. "What? It's true," she patted my cheek. "You're handsome. Are you Catholic?" "Mama." "What? I'm just asking." His sisters, Lucia, Isabel, and young Maria, were exactly as advertised. They pulled me away from Adrian at the first opportunity and proceeded to grill me about my intentions, my job, my feelings for their brother. But their protectiveness came from a place of love, and I found myself charmed by the whole chaotic family. At dinner, surrounded by laughter and multiple conversations happening at once, Adrian's father raised his glass. "To Marcus," he said, his voice commanding immediate silence. "Welcome to our family. Any man who makes our Adrian this happy is a son to us." I felt tears prick my eyes at the simple acceptance, the immediate inclusion. Adrian squeezed my hand under the table and I squeezed back, overwhelmed by the warmth of this loud, loving family. My own family meeting went more smoothly, mainly because it was just my mom and my younger sister, Emily. Mom had known I was dating someone but hadn't pressed for details. When I brought Adrian to Sunday brunch, she took one look at us together and smiled knowingly. "It's serious," she said later, while Adrian and Emily were doing dishes and arguing about the best Marvel movie. It wasn't a question. "Yeah," I admitted, "it is." "Good," she hugged me tightly. "You deserve to be happy, sweetheart, and he seems like a good man." He's," I struggled to find words. "He's better than I expected, better than I thought I deserved." "Now that," Mom said firmly, "is where you're wrong. You deserve all the happiness in the world." Everything was perfect, which should have been my first warning sign because nothing stays perfect forever. The problem started small. Adrian began taking on more work, staying late at the office, bringing projects home. He was pushing for a promotion to creative director and I supported him fully. But it meant less time together, more stress, more tension. I tried to be understanding. I picked up the slack at home, made sure he ate, gave him space when he needed it. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt when he canceled our plans for the 3rd Friday in a row or when he was too tired to do more than collapse into bed at night. "I'm sorry," he'd say, and I knew he meant it. "This is just temporary. Once I get this promotion, things will calm down." But they didn't. The promotion came through in March, 6 months after we'd started dating. I was genuinely happy for him. He deserved it, had worked hard for it. We celebrated with champagne and an expensive dinner at his favorite restaurant. But along with the new title came even more responsibility. Adrian was now overseeing multiple teams, dealing with difficult clients, navigating office politics. He came home exhausted and stressed, and I felt increasingly like I was competing with his job for his attention. I knew I was being unfair. I knew he was under a lot of pressure. But knowing something intellectually doesn't stop you from feeling hurt when the person you love keeps choosing work over you. It came to a head on our 6-month anniversary. I'd made plans, nothing fancy, just dinner at the restaurant where we'd had our first date, followed by a walk along the waterfront. Something simple and romantic to reconnect. Adrian texted me at 5:30 p.m., emergency with the Henderson account, going to be late, so sorry, I'll make it up to you. I told him it was fine, I even believed I meant it. But sitting alone in the restaurant, watching couples around me laugh and touch and be present with each other, something inside me cracked. When he finally got home at 10:30 p.m., full of apologies, I was cold in a way I'd never been with him. Marcus, I'm so sorry, the client was threatening to pull the entire account, I had to. You always have to, I interrupted. There's always some crisis, some emergency that's more important than us. That's not fair. Isn't it? I could hear the bitterness in my voice but couldn't stop it. When was the last time we had an uninterrupted evening together? When was the last time you were fully present, not checking your phone every 5 minutes? Adrian's face hardened. I'm working hard to build a career, I thought you understood that. I do understand, but what I don't understand is why building a career means neglecting our relationship. Why can't you have both? Because both requires time and energy, and right now I'm barely keeping my head above water. His voice rose and I realized this was our first real fight. I'm trying my best, Marcus, I'm sorry if that's not good enough for you. That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? I took a breath, trying to organize my thoughts. I'm saying that I miss you, I'm saying that I feel like I'm in a relationship with a ghost, I'm saying that I need more than texts and exhausted late-night arrivals. Adrian ran his hand through his hair, a gesture I'd learned meant he was overwhelmed. I don't know what you want me to do, I can't just quit my job. I don't want you to quit your job, I just want you to make room for me in your life. Real room, not just the leftover scraps of your time and energy. We stared at each other, the space between us feeling wider than the few physical feet that separated us. Maybe, Adrian said quietly, we need some time to think about what we both want from this. My heart seized. What does that mean? It means I'm tired and you're angry and we're not going to solve this tonight. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Maybe we should take a few days, figure out if this is really what we both want. Adrian. I'm going to stay at my place tonight, he said, already gathering his things. We can talk later when we're both calmer. And then he left and I was alone in my apartment, wondering how we'd gone from perfectly happy to this in the space of a few months. The next week was agony. We maintained professionalism at work, but the easy camaraderie we'd shared was gone, replaced by painful politeness. We didn't text, we didn't call. I wanted to reach out 1,000 times, but pride and fear kept me from it. What if he'd realized I wasn't worth the effort? What if the problems in our relationship had shown him that he was better off alone? Jennifer noticed, of course. Whatever's going on with you and Adrian, fix it, she said bluntly. You're both miserable and it's affecting the whole department. It's complicated, I muttered. Love is always complicated, that doesn't mean you give up on it. I knew she was right, but knowing and doing are two different things. On Friday evening, a week after our fight, I was working late, partly because I had a deadline, partly because going home to my empty apartment held no appeal. I was so focused on my computer screen that I didn't notice someone approaching until they spoke. Your color palette is off. I looked up to find Adrian standing beside my desk. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes and a crease between his brows that hadn't been there a week ago. The Morrison campaign, he continued, pointing at my screen. You're using the wrong shade of blue, it should be more teal, less navy. Oh, I looked at the screen, then back at him. You're right. I usually am, a ghost of his usual smile. Can we talk? My heart raced. Yes, let's talk. We went to the same conference room where we'd first cracked the Morrison campaign, a lifetime ago. Adrian closed the door behind us and turned to face me. I've been miserable this week, he said without preamble. I've been sleeping like shit, my work has suffered, and I keep looking for you even though I know you're not there. And I realized something. I waited, afraid to hope. I realized that you were right about all of it. I have been prioritizing work over us, over you. I've been so focused on proving myself in this new position that I lost sight of what actually matters. He stepped closer. And what matters, Marcus, is you, us, what we have together. Adrian. Let me finish, please. He took a shaky breath. When my last relationship ended, I threw myself into work because it was safer than feeling. Work doesn't betray you, work doesn't leave, but work also doesn't hold you when you're sad or laugh at your terrible jokes or make you feel like the best version of yourself. Work doesn't love you back. Tears were forming in my eyes, but I held them back. I love you, Adrian said, and my breath caught. I'm in love with you, Marcus, and I'm terrified because the last time I loved someone, it destroyed me, but I'm more terrified of losing you, of losing this chance at something real and true and beautiful because I'm too scared to make myself vulnerable. I love you too, I said, the words tumbling out. God, Adrian, I love you so much, and I'm sorry too. I know you're under a lot of pressure. I shouldn't have made you feel like you had to choose between me and your career. You didn't make me feel that way, you just pointed out that I wasn't balancing things well, and you were right. He closed the remaining distance between us. I want to do better, I want to make this work, but I need you to be patient with me while I figure out how to do that. I can be patient, I said, as long as you're actually trying. I will, I promise. He cupped my face in his hands. I missed you, this week felt like years. I missed you too. We kissed then, soft and sweet and full of promise. When we broke apart, Adrian rested his forehead against mine. Come home with me, he whispered. Let me show you how much you mean to me. Okay. We left the office hand in hand, not caring who saw us. Because Jennifer was right, love is complicated, but it's also worth fighting for. Rebuilding took time. Adrian made good on his promise to find better balance. He set boundaries at work, delegated more, and made sure our relationship got the attention it deserved. We had a standing date night every week, phones off, just us. We started running together in the mornings, using the time to check in with each other before the day got hectic. It wasn't perfect. There were still times when work demanded more of him, still moments when I felt insecure, but the difference was that we talked about it. We'd learned that silence and assumption were the enemies of connection. Tell me what you need became a common refrain between us. And we did. Sometimes what I needed was space, sometimes it was attention. Sometimes Adrian needed reassurance, sometimes he needed to be pushed out of his comfort zone. We learned each other's patterns, recognized warning signs, caught problems before they became crises. 3 months after our reconciliation, Adrian surprised me with a weekend getaway to the San Juan Islands. We stayed in a small cabin overlooking the water, spent our days hiking and exploring, our evenings cooking together and talking by the fireplace. On the last night, as we sat on the deck watching the stars, Adrian turned to me with an expression I couldn't quite read. I want to ask you something, he said. And before you answer, I want you to know there's no pressure. This is just me being honest about what I want. My pulse quickened. Okay. I want us to move in together. I know it's only been 9 months and maybe that's too fast for you. But Marcus, I wake up every morning missing you if you're not there. My apartment doesn't feel like home unless you're in it. And I think, he paused, choosing his words carefully, I think we're better together than we are apart in every way. I thought about it, really thought about it. About what it would mean to fully intertwine our lives, to commit to this relationship in such a concrete way, about how scary it was and how right it felt. Yes, I said, let's do it. Adrian's face lit up. Yeah. Yeah, you're right, we're better together, and I'm tired of splitting time between two places. I want a home, our home. He kissed me then, deep and passionate, conveying everything words couldn't. When we finally broke apart, both breathless, he smiled against my lips. Best weekend ever, he murmured. It's not over yet, I said, pulling him back inside. Moving in together was an adventure in compromise. Adrian was neat to the point of obsession, while I tended toward creative chaos. He liked modern minimalist design, I preferred warmer, more eclectic spaces. He was a morning person who bounced out of bed at 6 a.m. while I was most creative at midnight. But we made it work. We found an apartment in Capitol Hill with huge windows and exposed brick, modern enough for him, with character enough for me. We divided the space. He got the home office pristine and organized. I got the second bedroom as a studio where I could make my beautiful messes. We compromised on furniture, mixing his sleek modern pieces with my vintage finds from estate sales. The first morning in our new place, I woke to the smell of coffee and found Adrian in the kitchen, wearing only boxer briefs and humming while he made breakfast. Sunlight streamed through the windows, catching the gold in his hair, and I had one of those crystalline moments where everything felt absolutely perfect. "Good morning," he said, noticing me in the doorway. "I made your favorite blueberry pancakes." "You're perfect," I said, moving to wrap my arms around him from behind. "I'm really not," he turned in my embrace to face me, "but I'm perfect for you. That's all that matters." We ate breakfast on our tiny balcony, legs tangled together, planning our day of unpacking. It was ordinary and extraordinary at the same time, this glimpse of our future, of all the ordinary, extraordinary mornings we'd have together. Work continued to go well. Adrian's leadership brought new energy to the department, and our collaborative projects won several industry awards. I started taking on more personal art projects on the side with Adrian's encouragement. He'd stay up with me while I painted, reading, or working on his own projects, just keeping me company. "You know what I love about this," he said one night, looking up from his book. "What?" "That we don't have to be doing the same thing to be together. We can exist in the same space, doing our own things, and it still feels connected." He was right. There was an intimacy in the comfortable silence, in the simple presence of each other. My art show came together faster than I expected. A small gallery in Pioneer Square agreed to feature my work, a series exploring urban connection and isolation, themes that had become even more personal since meeting Adrian. The opening was on a Friday night in November, almost a year after we'd first met. I was nervous. Showing my personal work felt like standing naked in front of strangers, inviting them to judge my soul. But Adrian was there, steady and supportive, his hand a constant anchor in mine. "They're going to love it," he whispered as people began arriving. "I know they will, because your work is honest and beautiful and it makes people feel things." He was right. The show was a success, not financially, not yet, but in the way people engaged with the work, the conversations it sparked. And at the end of the night, when it was just us and the gallery owner, Adrian pulled me aside. "I'm so proud of you," he said, his eyes shining. "Do you know that? I'm so incredibly proud of who you are and what you create." I kissed him there in the gallery, surrounded by my art, feeling more seen and understood than I ever had in my life. "Thank you," I whispered, "for believing in me, for pushing me to do this." "You did this," he corrected. "I just reminded you that you could." Our first real crisis came in December, just after our one-year anniversary. Adrian's ex, Cameron, reached out. After 6 months of silence following their breakup, Cameron suddenly wanted to talk, wanted closure, wanted to explain, and despite my reservations, Adrian felt he needed to meet him. "It's just coffee," Adrian assured me. "One conversation to close that chapter properly. I owe it to myself to get closure." "I trust you," I said, and I meant it, but that didn't stop the knot of anxiety in my stomach. The night of the meeting, I tried to distract myself with work, but I kept checking my phone, watching the minutes tick by. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3. When Adrian finally came home at 11 p.m., I was wound so tight I could barely speak. "Sorry, I know that took longer than expected," he said, hanging up his coat. "We had a lot to talk about." 3 hours is a lot of talking," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. Adrian looked at me, really looked at me, and his expression softened. "Come here." I went to him, letting him pull me into his arms. "Cameron wanted to get back together," Adrian said quietly. "He said he'd made a mistake, that he'd been in therapy, that he'd changed." My heart stopped, and I told him I was in love with someone else. Someone who sees me, really sees me in a way he never did. Someone who challenges me and supports me and makes me want to be better. He pulled back to look at me. "I told him about you, Marcus, about us, and I realized, sitting there listening to him, that I don't have any feelings for him anymore. Not anger, not resentment, not love, just nothing. He's my past, you're my present and my future." I felt tears prick my eyes. "Why didn't you just tell him that at the beginning? Why 3 hours?" "Because I needed to be sure. I needed to look him in the eye and feel nothing, so I would know, absolutely know, that what we have is real. That I'm choosing you not because he hurt me, but because you're the one I want." "I was so scared," I admitted. "Scared that he'd remind you of what you had, that you'd realize I'm not." "Don't," Adrian cupped my face in his hands. "Don't compare yourself to him. You're not a replacement or a rebound or anything like that. You're the person I was supposed to find all along. You're the one who makes me feel electric, remember?" I remembered, God, I remembered. I love you, I said, so much it scares me sometimes. Good, it should be a little scary, that's how you know it matters. He kissed me softly. I love you too, and I'm sorry I put you through 3 hours of worry. Next time I'll text updates. Next time, I raised an eyebrow. Hypothetically, if there is a next time, which there won't be because I'm never meeting my ex for coffee again. I laughed despite myself, good policy. We spent the rest of the night on the couch, curled up together, reaffirming our connection in the quiet intimacy that had become our foundation. The new year brought changes. Adrian's firm offered him a position leading a new creative division, but it would mean longer hours and more travel. We talked about it for hours, weighing the pros and cons, discussing what it would mean for us. I'll support whatever you decide, I told him. But I need you to be honest, can you handle the additional workload without letting us slip through the cracks again? Adrian thought about it seriously. I don't know, but I want to try, and I want us to have a plan, real boundaries, real accountability. If you feel like I'm pulling away, you tell me immediately, no waiting until you're angry. And I promise to check in with myself regularly to make sure I'm not falling back into old patterns. Okay, I said, let's try. The new position was challenging, but Adrian kept his promise. He traveled twice a month, but we FaceTimed every night he was gone. He worked longer hours, but he was present when he was home. And when he felt himself getting overwhelmed, he told me, and we'd take a weekend away to reset. In the meantime, my art career began taking off. A gallery in New York wanted to feature my work. A design magazine did a profile on me. Commissions started coming in. For the first time, I could see a path where art wasn't just a side project but a viable career. I think I want to quit my job, I told Adrian one night, focus on art full-time. He didn't hesitate, do it. It's a risk, the income isn't stable yet. We'll make it work, I make enough for both of us if we need to tighten our belts for a while, and Marcus, you're miserable at the agency, you light up when you talk about your art projects. Life's too short to not chase what makes you happy. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything, he pulled me close, except maybe how much I love you. I gave my notice the next day. It was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure, but with Adrian's support I felt like I could do anything. 18 months into our relationship, on a trip to Portland to visit Adrian's family, something shifted. We were at the coast, walking along Cannon Beach at sunset. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, and the iconic Haystack Rock loomed in the distance. It was one of those moments that felt suspended in time, perfect and crystalline. Adrian stopped walking and turned to me. There was something in his expression, nervous, excited, determined. Marcus, he said, taking both my hands in his. I had a whole speech planned, something romantic and poetic about how you changed my life, how you taught me what love really means, how every day with you is better than the last. My heart started racing, was he? But standing here right now, all those words feel inadequate because the truth is simple. He took a breath. I love you, I want to spend my life with you, I want to wake up next to you for the next 50 years, I want to fight with you and make up with you and build a life with you, I want everything with you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box, my vision blurred with tears. Marcus Rivera, will you marry me? He opened the box to reveal a simple silver band with a small inset diamond. It was perfect, understated and elegant, and so very us. Yes, I said, my voice breaking. Yes, of course, yes. Adrian slipped the ring onto my finger, and then we were kissing, laughing, crying, holding each other as the waves crashed around us and the sun set over the Pacific. I can't believe you're mine, Adrian whispered against my hair. I can't believe you want to be stuck with me forever. Stuck with you? He pulled back to look at me, his eyes fierce. Marcus, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. Being with you isn't being stuck, it's being home. We stayed on the beach until the stars came out, planning our future, dreaming out loud about the life we'd build together. We got married 6 months later in June in a small ceremony at the same park where we'd had our first kiss. Just close friends and family, nothing fancy or elaborate. I wore a navy suit, Adrian wore charcoal gray. We wrote our own vows. When it was my turn to speak, I looked at Adrian and felt my heart swell with so much love I thought it might burst. Adrian, I began, my voice shaking slightly. A year and a half ago, you held an elevator door for me, such a small gesture. I was grumpy and antisocial, and you smiled at me anyway. You saw me when I was trying to be invisible, and you've been seeing me ever since. I took a breath, fighting back tears. You've taught me that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone who's perfectly imperfect for you. Someone who challenges you to be better while loving exactly who you are right now. You've shown me what it means to be truly vulnerable, truly known, truly accepted. Adrian's eyes were glistening. I promise to always hold the elevator for you, metaphorically and literally. I promise to see you even when you're trying to hide. I promise to fight for us even when it's hard. I promise to be your partner, your friend, your home, today and always. Adrian's vows were equally emotional. He talked about how I'd taught him to slow down, to appreciate the present moment, to believe in love again. He promised to support my dreams, to be patient with my chaos, to love me through all our seasons, the easy ones and the hard ones. When the officiant pronounced us married, we kissed to the sound of applause and cheers from our loved ones. It was perfect. Not because everything went smoothly. My nephew spilled juice on his fancy clothes. It started raining halfway through the reception. The DJ played the wrong first dance song, but because we were together, officially and irrevocably bound. At the reception, during our first dance to the right song, after some technical difficulties, Adrian pulled me close and whispered, "How are you feeling, husband?" Husband, I repeated, testing the word. I like that. Me too. Marcus Chenrivera has a nice ring to it. We'd decided to hyphenate our last names, unable to choose which one to take. It felt right, a blending of our identities into something new. This is just the beginning, Adrian said as we swayed together. The best is yet to come. And he was right. I'm writing this from our home office, no longer the apartment in Capitol Hill but a small house in Wallingford with a yard and a studio out back where I do my art. Adrian's at work, due home in an hour, and I'm putting the finishing touches on a piece for my upcoming show in San Francisco. It's been 5 years since that first elevator ride, 3 years since we got married. We have a life that's beautifully ordinary and extraordinarily special. We still have date nights every week. We still fight sometimes, usually about dishes or whose turn it is to call the plumber. We still make each other laugh every single day. Adrian did start his own design firm 2 years ago, focusing on social impact work. I'm represented by 3 galleries now, and my art has been featured in national publications. We're talking about adopting, maybe in a year or two, when we feel ready for that next adventure. Last week we were at the grocery store arguing about whether we needed more olive oil. We did. I was right when I caught sight of us in the security mirror. We looked so normal. Just 2 guys in their 30s doing mundane weekend errands, completely unremarkable. Except that Adrian's hand was on the small of my back, a casual touch that grounded me. Except that we were finishing each other's sentences. Except that when he caught me looking at us in the mirror, he smiled that smile, the one that still makes my heart skip, and I fell in love with him all over again. What? He asked. Nothing, just thinking about how lucky I am. I'm the lucky one, he countered, as he always does. We're both lucky, I said, which is the truth. Sometimes I think about that morning in the elevator, about the grumpy, closed-off person I was, afraid to let anyone in. I think about all the ways my life could have gone if Adrian hadn't held that door, if I hadn't accepted his offer for coffee, if we hadn't taken a chance on each other. But he did, and I did, and we did. And it turns out that taking a chance on love, real, vulnerable, terrifying love, was the best decision I ever made. Adrian was better than I expected, better than I dreamed, better than I knew I deserved. And every day he shows me that I'm better than I thought too, that together we're better than either of us could be alone. I hear his car in the driveway now. In a moment he'll come through the door, kiss me hello, tell me about his day, ask about mine. We'll make dinner together, probably dance in the kitchen to whatever song comes on. We'll curl up on the couch with a movie we've both seen a dozen times, his head on my shoulder, my fingers in his hair. It's ordinary, it's mundane. It's everything. The front door opens. Marcus, I'm home. I smile, saving my work, already moving toward his voice. I'm here, I call back, welcome home. And I mean it in every possible way. F.